Next up, we have Sean Kingsley of Gold Hunter Resources. They just completed an M&A deal and returned quite a bit of cash to shareholders. And you're going to inform us what you're going to do next.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I have to apologize first because I'm not like Dean, I'm not a geologist. So we're not going to do a geology story, but I'm going to do a value proposition to you all. Essentially, we started this company 3 years ago. We looked at a great opportunity in a very bad market, looking at assets that we can look for areas that are underexplored, undervalued, and create a consolidation play. Newfoundland is a great province to work in. That's where we are focusing a lot of our time. We're good friends with a lot of Newfoundlanders. I've been in the business for 17 years, been coming to Germany the last 12 years, so it's great to see a lot of familiar faces. I bet you anything, nobody knows this story though. Like Christian was saying, we did create a lot of value for our shareholders over those 3 years, and we are about to do it again. Essentially, 3 years ago, we consolidated around a once-producing copper mine in Newfoundland. It was owned and run by the Chinese, but they had no interest in expansion. That went into receivership last year. The bank ended up selling it to a company by the name of Firefly Metals, which if you haven't heard of them, you should look them up. They're the same group that had Bellevue Gold, which went from a $2 million market cap in 2017 to over $2.5 billion today. BlackRock is a large shareholder of them, and BlackRock met them at BMO last in Florida and asked them, what's the next move? And they said Firefly. Anyways, so we went to Firefly when they acquired that asset. We had 25,000 hectares surrounding it, and we struck a deal, or LOI, in December 2023, where after due diligence, we'll sell them our entire portfolio, and they'll give us $15 million in shares, which equated to, at the time, 30 million shares of Firefly. Fast forward to this year, May, that turned into about $35 million in valuation, which we returned to our shareholders 83% as a dividend. And essentially, everybody that was a shareholder got a dividend share of Firefly, and so 2 months after that, we did another consolidation. This is our new play. Nobody's heard about it because essentially when we closed this transaction, we did a deal with 5 other property vendors and companies, acquired a private company, did a deal with a public company, and nobody knew we're doing a consolidation play. Same day we announced 5 transactions, and Great Northern Project is what we have now. Essentially, again, it's a district scale play. It was 15,000 hectares, but we consolidated the entire district. Now it's a 23,000 hectare property. What's most important, and I'll show you in the next slide, but essentially what's most important is along a fault structure that we know is mineralized as it splays off the fault structure. Won't go into geology, but definitely visually you'll be able to see why we're very excited about it. We did a data compilation, a lot of historical work. Again, it was fragmented, so there's a lot of information, but a lot of information that was never gathered into one database. So we took the approach, we spent 2.5 months to go through all the data, put it all together, understand on a bigger scale what this actually means. There's actually a historic resource and a compliant resource. In total, we're looking at less than 400,000 ounces, starting from surface down to about 100 meters, grading at about 1.7 grams per ton. But we're not interested in what we know. We're interested about what we don't know. If you guys don't know, again, we created value, but Newfoundland is probably one of the best provinces in Canada to actually get work done. Very supportive government, pro-mining community, and very cheap. Like literally, we're paying $110 to $120 a meter for drilling. I focused in the Golden Triangle prior to this for 4.5 years. That was like 4 times as much money to drill a meter. Essentially, this is the map. Again, you can see a fault structure on the left-hand side. That's our new project. There's a fault structure going right down the middle of the property. As Christopher Schmidt said earlier, location's important, infrastructure important. Imagine a mine here. What is it going to take? Well, we have a hydroelectric facility down to the south of us with the power lines going right through the middle of our property. That right to the right side is a deep sea port right across the peninsula. That's also where Firefly is. That's where we had our property before, where we created $35 million valuation for our shareholders. Now we're on the other side of the peninsula. But essentially, location is important, and we have all the infrastructure here. That fault structure right there, like, again, the fault structure is the main important thing because as it splays, like in any major mining camp where there's clusters of deposits, those splays are where all the mineral is endowed. Again, just to back it up, there are deposits. So we have a compliant deposit right there to the south, and then we have 3 clusters of non-compliant historic resources to the north. We also have a past producing mine on the property as well too. So we got a lot of smoke, but the problem with this property, you know, it being fragmented for one thing, but also there's a road that goes right down the middle of the property. It goes all the way up to the top of the peninsula where people go for fishing, for hunting, etc. But essentially, all the previous operators of the property, all they did was go drive their truck, get out of the truck, and walk less than a kilometer to go explore. Really, no systematic exploration has been really done on the property to expand what's known. You know, if you're going to make discoveries, you have to drill. So essentially, this is our zoomed up property. Again, the fault structure is really important. You can see the power line going alongside the fault structure. But what's most important is, you know, what we are, our targets. So you can see on the left-hand side to the north over there, those are splays. Those are 2 mineralized trends or splays that we know of. A lot of work's been done on them, but we want to find more, and we want to drill these. Again, data compilation, those blacks over there are soil samples. All those dots are rock samples. There's been 36,000 meters of drilling just on this side of the property. One deposit, you can see where most of the work's been done. It's been very isolated, focused work. But essentially, there's a lot going on, and we want to see the bigger picture. We're not after, you know, already, 500,000 ounces. We're looking at, you know, we want to discover and expand, you know, 3-5+ million ounces. How do we do that? Essentially, you got to drill. So this is some historic drilling. I'm not going to go into details on the numbers because really, it's end of the day, high grade for near surface, open pit potential. But the grading is really important. Some really high grade intersects. But after all, again, we're going after what we don't know. But you got to drill in order to make these discoveries. And in order to add ounces, you have to drill. This is our northern block up here. Again, road access, hydroelectric, power line going down the middle of the property, fault structure, again, most important. Displays, we want to explore again. You can see that little block to the bottom left, little helicopter there. So currently we're flying an airborne survey. When we did a data compilation, there's more data than anyone ever realized, so it took more time. But because it was always fragmented in the history of this project, essentially there's a lot of gaps, a lot of missing information. Again, you can see the gaps where there's a lot of information along the road, but what about, you know, 5 kilometers to left, right? I should mention again scale. This, you can see the bar down there, so that's 5 kilometers. We control 40 kilometers along the fault structure, which we know is mineralized on the splays. Bigger picture, we don't need to get into it, but essentially to the right, that is the UK, going to Scotland, Ireland, to Newfoundland, down to Boston, down to North Carolina. When we're all one big supercontinent of the world, essentially when that splits, that created these fault structures, which then endowed these mega deposits along these fault structures. So essentially we're along a very important area, which just to the south of us, there is a deposit called Valentine. And as Christopher Schmidt said earlier, essentially the best low-risk opportunities for all you investors, for us as investors, is to find a company about to go into production. So Colibri, with the Valentine deposit, I believe end of Q1 is their target to go into production. They have 5 million ounces on their project. You can see on the left-hand side. It's actually horizontal, but I want to show the comparisons besides our company and their company. They have 5 deposits along this fault structure, just like us. We model our project based off of their project. It's an orogenic target, but essentially you got 5 deposits along this fault structure, equates to 5 million ounces. Starting next year, they're going to be producing about 500,000 ounces a year. That's value creation, as Christopher Schmidt says. He averages about 85%, I believe he said, in plays like that. We are earlier stage where we do have deposits and resources and a lot of smoke, a lot of mineralization to follow up on, but we're very early stage in our process of potentially having multi-million ounces like the Valentine deposit. Early stage, our strike length, so on the left-hand side, they got 13 kilometers of strike length along the fault structure. Again, that's 50 kilometers on our property, but we control 40 kilometers. Very, very big, but essentially we are very systematically focused on collecting data, applying geophysics, et cetera, and systematically following up, which this property really hasn't had much large enough programs to actually make amazing progress, which is what we plan to do, which I'll get into. So management's key. Again, I've been in the business going on 18 years. Michael Williams, just to the middle over there, he's a part of Underworld, which they sold for $140 million to Kinross. He's also the chairman of Aftermath Silver, which Eric Sprott just put in $50 million in the last month. He's been a founding director of the company since we started. Same as John Theobald, very well-known UK technical, very smart. He sold several companies as well, ran big companies like Anglo-Pacific. Lou Lawrick, he essentially came on board when we acquired this new project. He's the CEO of Signal Gold. Sorry, it's not Signal Gold. He's a part of Signal Gold, also Magneterra, and he was a part of Anaconda as well, which has been in Newfoundland for 25 years. They had this project. They really wanted to develop it. They had held it for 10 years, but fortunately, they had to focus on the other project, which they turned within 10 years from 300,000 ounces to 3.2 million ounces. They actually just announced a merger with one of Frank Justra's companies in the last 30 days as well. Technical side, we have a great team. I can go through it later with you, but essentially there's 125 years of combined technical information amongst these guys. Victor French has been in Newfoundland as a geologist for 60 years. Dave Copeland as well, he lives in Newfoundland as well. He's the one that helped turn, 800,000 ounces to 3.1 at Goldboro. Excuse me. See, share structure is important. I should get some water. So you can see our chart. There was a, incline, decline. I'll tell you why. Last year, we announced the deal with Firefly, and essentially there was an arbitrage trade where if you were an investor, before that closing date, you would get shares of Firefly. We've never marketed the story. We never put this out publicly, really, to anyone. But there was new shareholders getting in for that dividend, and of course, closing dates, sold, and brought it back to reality. We're currently at a $5 million market cap, less than 60 million shares outstanding. Sorry. We essentially kept 5 million shares of Firefly and sold it to their institutional shareholder, which gave us $3.7 million in cash and non-dilutive cash. So we're sitting above $2 million in cash today. I have essentially milestones and catalysts that I'll quickly go through, but what's also important is your shareholders. Again, we're $5 million market cap today. Eric Sprott's been a founding shareholder since we were a private company 3 years ago. One of our largest shareholders worked with him 20 years ago at Sprott as his mining trader, and essentially brought a lot of ideas from Newfoundland to Eric and vice versa. Very supportive. He essentially has been in every financing, which we've only had 3 financings in the last 3 years. Wade Daw, another billionaire as well, but essentially amongst our friends, family, management, we own close to 65% of the outstanding shares. These dots on the chart right here, that's me. That's me in the open market. I became CEO last year, about a year and a half ago. In the last year and a half, I've personally purchased in the open market when I'm allowed to. In the last 2 months, 3 months, 2 months probably, at around these prices, I've already invested $50,000. I have over $150,000 cash in the open market purchases. You got to have skin in the game in order to win, right? Like, you can't win the lottery if you don't have a ticket. So we're all large shareholders. That's why we also did the dividend, because we all had a shitty market the last several years, and a win's a win. So we're on to our next one. We got a great project, a lot of smoke, under the radar. Nobody heard about us yet. We're not going to go out there aggressively marketing. I think for the next 3 months, it's all about getting the story out there. Great entry point, great opportunity. Is this time including Q&A? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I left some presentations back there because literally I brought only 30 presentations, and definitely I don't want to go home with them. They're definitely made for the German market. Nein speaker Deutsch, but definitely wanted to say thanks for coming.
We'll do one quick question for you,
Okay.
Sean. You got $2 million left. What's the plan with the $2 million?
Oh yeah. So exploration companies today, if you invest into a company, be careful investing into a company that wants to do a small program. Try to make a discovery. If they drill 1,000, 2,000 meters, they might have some success, but the stock's going to go right back down. So our plan for this project, what it merits and deserves, is a big drill program. So come May, we want to drill up to 20,000 meters, and not just one target, multiple targets. We want to have continuous drill results, and that's how you create value for shareholders. So essentially, the VTEM survey is going to help us with the gaps. We know areas that are mineralized. We'll see with the VTEM other areas that we can target. We have 18 mineralized trends. We have a lot of drill targets, but we want to narrow down what's going to make sense to create value quick.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everyone.